Here with Martin Christensen, all German motorsports in Escondido. Hi Martin, how's it going?
It's going good. How about you, Tom?
Hanging in there, looking forward, been watching the race. We've been quite excited, and then we look at that live map and we see that not moving, and we thought, oh, what's up? So what was really up there?
Well, for our car, Kramer's car, it's a different story, but for our car, which is Armin Schwartz and myself, we had a little bit of bad luck off basically the start of the race, and only about 12 miles into the race, got stuck a little bit from driving in the dust, and then had to sit there for a couple of hours before we were able to free up the car,
Okay. Well, so you finally
got us way behind schedule.
You finally ended up then in what place for the race?
By the time that Armin got it to me, we were so far down in the race that really whether we raced hard or soft wasn't going to make a whole lot of difference, so we just drove the car in to finish the race, and we ended up in 10th position total.
Okay. And the championship in third, right?
Points championship, third place, that's right. 2 points out of second, which is a shame, but hey, that's how it goes, Congratulations. Congratulations to BJ. BJ Richardson, he did a great job. He finished, every race. What hurt us was that we had the DNF from the day 2 at Laughlin, and we didn't get the finishing points. So, with that was a tragedy for our 2008 season. Other than that, we would have been way out front in points. After that, we came back strong with the wins and the third place at the Baja 500. But that's how it goes.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a tragedy then. And I mean, there's the old racer saying, I recall, you got to finish first to finish first, right?
Yeah, in order to finish first, you must first finish. That's a good saying. Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a tragedy, especially even if you look at the showings that you guys did when you did really good. I mean, you've been not only running on top of your class, you've been dicing it out with the big guys. Okay, the plans for 2009 then, get the championship?
2009, I feel that we've done a lot of development on the car during 2008 while we've been racing it. We got it very sorted out. I feel comfortable with the car and the car's capabilities. And so 2009, instead of doing so much development, we're going to really focus on the racing part of the race, and we are going to do everything that we can to just have a, super 2009 season.
Okay. Are you going to run the team the same way as now, like two different cars, or do you eventually go over and run same cars for logistic purposes, or you keep going BMW, mid-motor, and the other setup is with a Chevy?
Well, that's a good question. In regards to that, there's been a lot of talk and listen back and forth, and there was even some stuff written in Dirt Sport magazine on that topic, because everything about the BMW engine is always interesting to people. The reason for installing the BMW engine is purely because of my shop, All German Auto. It's my background working with BMWs. I raced them for years and years, and I'm a big fan of the BMW product. But with that said, have absolutely received no support whatsoever from BMW. And, I think with the racing history that we've had, won many points championships in Class 10 with BMW engines, and now had some good seasons with the BMW V8 motor in Class 1. And for BMW still to not even recognize that we're racing with it or give us any support in any way, shape, or form, I think is very, very weak from BMW. And so at this point, if there's anybody of another manufacturer that offers me an engine, I will take the offer and install it in the car if it is a competitive package.
So basically, if you find some support or some sponsor manufacturer that gives you a motor that is somewhat to compete, you would change because BMW just gives you basically zero.
That's correct. I mean,
that is poor.
It's hard to understand.
That's what I mean.
Racer. And if for me and for everybody asks me, well, so BMW sponsors you, right? No, BMW has absolutely no sponsorship commitment to me in any way, shape, or form, and they have never given me anything. And it's not that I haven't asked. I've been in contact with them several times and this and that, but it's tough. They're a big company. They're a big corporation. They're not focused on the off-road, and it's their decision. So that's all I can say about that.
So you've been in touch with them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's kind of surprising to me because they all have their philosophy about the touring cars and so on, and I mean, in that direction, well, maybe another time, or they spend too much money for the Formula One, you know?
Yeah, it's a huge testament to the durability of the motor. The motor truly is fantastic because you having a background with cars and stuff like that can understand that the motor has a complete variable cam timing system, so each valve and cam is controlled electronically. So you can, through the programming of the Motec system that we run in the car, completely control the cams depending on engine RPM and throttle load and all that stuff. So basically it will adjust to the power needed at the time, which results in good low-end power, good upper-end power with a very small displacement of only 5 liters, and at the same time it's good gas mileage because you only basically use the power that is needed at a time.
I know, I had a 535 before.
Yeah, and so, but it is a big, look at Volkswagen coming out with the diesel. I mean, one of their big things is that they consume a lot less fuel than the big gas V8. And part of their strategy is to have fewer fuel stops. Well, for us, we've optimized the chassis. We have very big gas tanks in it. We have quick fill on both sides, so our gas stops are very, very short. I mean, we can completely fuel the car in less than 20 seconds.
Okay.
And we have a very, very big range in the car because of the good fuel mileage from the BMW engine and because of the pretty good fuel capacity from the tank.
Well, referring to your statement, you just said Volkswagen and the diesel, but you've seen that Score made already different rules, which I think is not really nice because trophy trucks can have 100 gallons and the diesel is limited to 65. I would take the advantage out of the diesel more or less, you know.
I think that they already bended the rules to allow the turbo diesels to run, which was not allowed before. So I think that this is Score's way of keeping the rule change that favors Volkswagen a little bit on the wraps, that they don't get a double whammy with being allowed to have the turbochargers on the diesels and then being allowed to have a huge fuel capacity, which would give them an additional advantage. So I think it's Score's way of keeping it a little bit
regulating.
Yeah.
So that would be internet or news, you call that censorship, you know?
Yeah, censorship, yeah. No, but one of the things that I love about this whole sport is that there is very, very little regulating. If you ever run a car in an FIA event, I mean, just before you ever get there, the rule book is horrendous. The regulations are horrendous, and it takes, every time you write a new rule, it takes more fun out of racing. And so, if you want to do off-road racing to the max, the less rules, the better it is.
Well, at least in the open class, that's why I call it open class, unlimited, you know.
That's why you call it unlimited.
Yeah, right.
And at this point, you're not allowed to run turbo diesel in the Class 1. But if it was allowed, I could see people speculating with putting a smaller displacement turbo diesel engine in a Class 1. So get the power. But the thing about it is, there's always a plus and a minus. You know.
Yeah, sure.
When you look at a project like the Volkswagen Touareg, yes, they have a V12 turbo diesel, but until the thing comes on boost, it develops very little power. Once it comes on boost, it develops a lot of power, but in a short range of RPM.
Yeah.
So they gotta have good transmission, good gearing, good layout from that standpoint to really optimize the power. Where if you have a bigger V8 that develops a lot of torque on the bottom and all the way up into a high RPM, it's a more forgiving engine package, if you would.
Well, I'm wondering on that one, you know, I mean, you heard the interview with Mark Miller and also with BJ, and they're talking about the torque and everything, and I understand the turbo hole as such until the turbo gets its RPM and delivers the pressure. I'm surprised. I'm wondering if they don't. Do you recall the launch hours when they did the Rally World Championship, and they had like a combination of a roots compressor and a turbocharger, where the roots compressor would jump in for land, and then it goes out, and then the turbo came in, you know. So some things like that should maybe be an option. But hey, they're also smart there. They should find that out.
But the whole thing on that is when you add more and more systems to a package, it gets more and more complicated, more things to control, and you got to just get to the point where you say, when is it worth it? If you have adequate power, if you feel you have a good enough window of power, it's up to really the driver to optimize whatever he's given.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what it comes down to. You got to be smart. You got to use your strong cards, and if that's good power at whatever RPM, you got to keep it there and keep it rolling, and never bog it down, and never stop to where you have, severe conditions for clutch and stuff like that. But
just talking about a few things that I wanted to ask later on anyway. Racing, unlimited, diesel, BMW sponsors, etc., etc. If you look at the economic situation right now, I mean, I guess for any independent race team, this is something to keep an eye on, definitely. And if you look at the situation of the American car makers right now, Ford, Chevrolet, and Chrysler, they are not looking that good. Do you think it's going to have an influence on the racing the next few years? Because they say the American car makers don't do that good because they missed out on the newer technologies and environmental less use of environment and pollution and so on. So they all need to develop basically new lines of motors and so on. I mean, they're not directly involved in score, but they're supporting many teams. Do you think it's going to change some things down the line? Do you think they're going to be more alternative, ancient source teams coming up, diesels or something like that? Or even Wanko, who knows?
Well, the question there is two ways. I mean, as far as the economical impact, you would be somewhat naive if you were to say that I don't think it will impact off-road racing at all. Of course, when you have an economical downturn like we're faced with right now, of course it will affect many teams because it goes in a big circle. Their sponsors are affected. Whoever is helping them has led operating budgets and stuff like that to work with. So they will be pulling back on the funds that they're giving to different race teams and stuff like that. So from that aspect, I definitely think that we can expect somewhat of a downturn in the racing, as much as I don't really want to admit it, but that probably is reality. But at the same time, in regards to the technology change, I think that it will happen on its own. When the need is there, and when it presents an opportunity, somebody will take it because there's many people that wants to race, and they'll do it in every which way they can. So
I'm talking often here in the interviews about Volkswagen and the diesel, and I'm neither sponsored by Volkswagen nor I'm a real diesel freak. I mean, I like diesel motors, especially the new ones, because I think they are by far not what the people think about it. It's like some nailing thing, like in a 200 Mercedes diesel that scares you when it's 5 blocks away. And and I definitely like. I mean, there's nothing that sounds better than V8 in the whole world in a race car, in my opinion. But I mean, companies probably cannot justify to the general public to use this kind of motors and promote, on one side, economical and environmental safe new models, and at the same time dump out hundreds of gallons of gas, even if it doesn't really do anything to the environment compared to a few thousand cars sitting on the freeway waiting in a rush hour, you know.
Yeah, no, there's definitely the psychological aspect right there of the being green and being environmentally correct and all those different things. Yeah. I understand that part of it. But I think, at least for the American car manufacturers at this point, there's a long road ahead of them before they will be at the point where the European car manufacturers are at.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it as a big picture, and this is just my personal opinion. So, in the beginning of the 1980s, when the emissions got real stringent from the U.S. and particularly the California side, and all the catalytic converters and everything was implemented, and the car manufacturers like Peugeot, Maserati, Citroën, stuff like that, Opel, which is also on the European side, made the decision that it was too much, and they pulled out of the American market. And then the bigger ones like Mercedes, Volkswagen, and BMW, they stayed and they conformed to the catalytic converter rules and stuff like that, and they have kind of kept the technology rolling. At that point, they basically ruled out the diesels, like you mentioned right now, a 300 Mercedes turbo diesel. But a lot of that is because the diesel that was required to make them run clean was not available in the U.S. The U.S. does not offer a sulfate-free diesel still to this day. I mean, they have a low-sulfate diesel, but if you look at other countries, and definitely countries that are way further behind on the development side than the United States, it has been since the 70s only selling.
You got mail, baby, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So there's not a doubt there that the oil companies have been doing a really good job on lobbying on keeping the sulfate in and getting more refined fuel per barrel of raw fuel and stuff like that. So, but that's the big picture you're getting into. You're getting into a big political thing as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what's all about is politics, and of course, I mean, many